Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm so excited for season 2 and the great guests you're going to hear from, their struggles, how they overcame their struggles, their triumphs. Through personal and business life, I think they're tied together, and we're going to share great stories about that. This show isn't just about me. It takes a lot of good people working with me. Among them is my partner, H7 Network, and Clay Hicks. Building relationships, building community is the mission of H7 Network. They want to create a network of champions where everybody wins. Find out more at h7network.com. And we hope to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you through our show. Enjoy the show. We'll talk to you on the other side. Welcome, everyone. This is your host, Steve Ramona, with another awesome episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. And I'm excited because I had a pre-show talk with our guest, and he's doing incredible things. But, you know, he's done some great things in his life. But like a servant, he's very humble. And that's why I'm excited you listen to him. He's got some incredible knowledge he's going to drop on you. Joey, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's great to be here with you, Steve. After our pre-conversation, I'm really excited about this.
We're fired up. Let's talk SMT. I've never heard of it before. I'm sure a lot of listeners. Tell us what that's about.
Yeah, so SMT is subconscious mindset training, and it's really a process without even knowing I was developing. I started doing the works I do today since I was 23 years old, and it's just been a continuum. And so it's been, 5-6 years. Or 3 decades, 3.5 decades, but either way, it's been a build-up, and I was my guinea pig with it. I was the one that, if something came easy to me in my 20s, I thought I did something wrong or I cheated. It was uncomfortable for me, and I thought there had to be struggle, and I had to take massive actions and put everything else aside for what I wanted business-wise and things like that, and it never really launched until I understood the subconscious, which holds all of our programming, our paradigms, our patterns, our beliefs, and all that's in the subconscious. And the subconscious is what triggers our brainwaves to the actions we take or don't take. So I talk a lot about a knowing doing gap that my mentor, late Rob Proctor, had taught me is our conscious mind has the knowing. We know what we want to do, but we're not taking the actions. And it happens in business all day long. It happens even in our health, somebody who wants to lose weight, but then they're eating chocolate cake. That disconnect is coming from that subconscious conditioning. So when we can understand what that is, when we identify what it is, shift it, it opens the doorway to bring alignment to that knowing doing, and people literally explode into what they're trying to achieve.
I love it. And the cool thing is, this is doing business with a servant's heart, but it could be doing personal with a servant's heart. You can help people personally as well. Their personal life.
Everything I do. I mean, you and I talked, and I help people grow their business, like just truly ignite their business within months, going from $34,000 a month revenue to $300,000, or 7.5 in sales for realtors, to 23 million. So, but that's the vehicle I use to help people go through transition, take the hero's journey through transformation. And it really is, that's where everything is at. Somebody who's selling $23 million a year in real estate, that's a different person. They're living at a different elevation than somebody selling 7.5 million. So getting to take people through that transformation, I am crazy. So blessed to get to do what I do.
Oh my God, I'm blessed listening to it. So are the listeners. So you're leveling up realtors and business owners that want to level up. Of course, you have to have the mindset, I want to go from 5 to 50 million or whatever that level up is, right?
Honestly, like there was a wholesale company. He was doing $34,000 a month. And when we met and talked, he said, man, if I could just get to $50,000 a month, I can pay everything and dwindle off that line of credit they'd been relying on for 5 years. So it took some effort and the tools I used to developing a dynamic vision and all that to get him even to $150,000 where he could, and working with him to where he could start seeing that. And he just blew by that to $200,000 a month and continually went to 300. And if you talk to him today, he'll tell you his vision is $1 million a month because he can see it now. Once we open up that doorway and that avenue, what my clients achieve have been the same beyond what I've achieved, even, in learning this stuff and putting it together. And it's once we open that door, it's amazing how quickly that shift can happen, and we start just rising and truly launching in our life. And doing so, one of the things that like for a long time I studied is that massive actions, exhaustive efforts, holding myself to the gun, being accountable, getting an accountability partner. And not that doesn't work, but it doesn't work as well. It doesn't work as quick. And you lose so much in your life in having balance and the freedom to enjoy your family and things like that you give up to go that route.
Working on mindset did all this.
Working on, the subconscious conditioning. Yeah. Now we do some work on the conscious as well, because one of the things I ask people, Steve, is would you ever speak to another person the way you talk to yourself? We got to do something about that. If you see yourself as a loser and struggle and everything, that's what you're going to continue to experience. But when we shift that, then we have to get down that. We'll start tapping into the subconscious conditioning that's going, no, you're not good. You're not, you don't deserve, or you're this, or you, whatever that programming is. It can't be that easy. One of the things I ask people, I'll talk to them about a vision, and they'll say, well, that's not realistic. And I'll nod my head and go, frickin' A, do you want to live a realistic life? Because that's the route you're on right now. You're living realistically. You're going to work and putting the hours in, or you're putting exhaustive energies and everything. That's realistic. Don't you want unrealistic results? And what I love that I've done over this last year, probably since COVID, is before, I would have the investment to work with me and things like that. And now I've set it up in a way where, like, I have skin in the game with my clients.
Wow.
So when somebody comes to work with me, if they don't, the better they perform, the better I do.
Wow, you're kidding me. That's unique.
It's tied together.
Wow. And that's the realtors and business owners.
Yep, I do an incremental margin share with my clients. So as they grow and do better, then I do better. So, I mean, it really works out well, because people that, so many people have been through, and so have I, have been through coaching programs that didn't net them anything close to the results. And I just want to take a second, if I can, and explain what my learnings have been as far as the why.
Go ahead.
So somebody goes out and they make $1 million, trillion, $1 billion, whatever, $1 billion, dollars doing something. And then people start going to them and saying, show me what you did. I'll pay you. Show me what you did. And they show them what they did to the best of their abilities. Do you know less than 1% of those people ever achieve anywhere close to the results the person teaching in? And the reason being is there's things built into that person's when they tapped into that, what I call their life joy, or their success roadmap for their life. It's unique to them. I can't apply your roadmap to my life. And so what I do, I don't tell people what they need to do or how to do it. What I do is I help them identify what is that for them. We develop systems of accelerating habits that work for them, not that work for me. And those habits would be different than what yours or mine or anybody else's would be. So as I'm doing that, I'm taking their uniqueness, just like our conditioning. I have 4 siblings. We all 5 grew up in the same household, raised by the same 2 parents. And when we talk about events that happen through our life, all 5 of us have a different perception of those events and what happened, because we have unique conditioning. It's how we perceive things. So when we work on that level, when we identify what's going on that's causing limitation, and we shift our perceptions in that, it just opens us up to achieve more easier. That's unrealistic living. Go ahead.
I'm just blown away, because it's okay. I'm fired up. You put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
You say, hey, if you don't scale, I don't scale.
Steve, I've worked with almost 1,000 clients over the past decade. I used to have a money back guarantee, and I still offer guaranteed results, but I used to, and not one person had ever asked me for that. But what I found is people that are building their business and people that really need quick growth in their business, they might not have the same, monies to invest as somebody that's doing mediocre and getting to that next level figure, right? Mm-hmm. So I started looking, I don't want to not serve those people and not be able to help them. Those are the people that need it most. So how can I do this? So I minimize the investment coming in. And then what I do is say, okay, so we'll have an incremental profit sharing between us. So as you do better, I get a small percentage of that for some time. And that allows them to say yes to themselves and move into getting these tools and applying these tools and gaining that growth. I mean, it was a God thought that came together, and it served so many people in doing it this way.
And I got to say, that's a servant's heart. But a lot of people won't think about that because they're afraid of going broke. You're very successful. It's not hurt you at all doing that.
Oh, man, whenever I've done something out of the fear, and I've done it. I've done it for a long time, acted out of fear of how to do things. It didn't come together. When I get into that place of going, man, I'm just going to trust that this is where I'm supposed to be. You know, I told you before we came on here, when I think about it, when I really think about like this kid from this struggling family from Detroit, Michigan, to have this impact in other people's lives it's overwhelming to me. It's unrealistic.
You're so humble, because I'm going to say something you said earlier really quickly, because you're humble, is you offer 100% money back guarantee, but nobody took you on it in many, many years. Yeah. That tells me you're doing the right thing, because everybody go, oh, I'm not going to do that, Joey. Oh my God, I'll have my clients all walk away from me. You're proof in the pudding. It works. Yeah. Because you give them value. You help them.
Yes. And I've taken coaching programs where I've invested tens of thousands of dollars, and I walked away from it going, the only thing I learned is I don't want to be the kind of coach you are. And my whole thing is, if I work with somebody and they don't get results, that would just eat away at me. Yeah. So one of the other things I do, Steve, I know we're going coaching side of it and stuff, but one of the other things I do is when I work with a client, I only work with so many clients at a time so that my schedule will allow. If you and I are working together and you have something come up in between our calls, you don't have to wait until your next weekly scheduled call. I want you to reach out and connect with me right then. Man, I'll tell you, I told you up front, when somebody has a breakthrough, man, it brings tears to my eyes to see somebody's life change that way, or to hit above a number, that level where they want to go. Or even, I can't tell you how many times working with business owners has improved their marriage, with their relationship with their children, how they see themselves in the morning when they look in the mirror.
You're the number one cheerleader. Yeah, you're the number one cheerleader. And that's what you need to be as a coach.
And I transfer that as well. I will only work with somebody for a year, and then I'll do some, partial things and stuff like that. But for the most part, working with somebody, I'll only work with them for a year, because I don't want them to get dependent on me, because I want to transfer that cheerleader to them. And if I didn't do that when we get done, it wasn't a successful journey.
No, you don't want reliability on you. You want them to grow and graduate in a sense to a next level. Before we get into the Institute, you dropped some, I'm blown away by the nuggets you just dropped. Somebody out there right now is going, how do I get a hold of Joey? So how do they get a hold of you?
The easiest way they can do it, they can go to my website, and it's in the Cliff Notes, but even easier than that, because I got a long last name, but it does look good on a hockey jersey, is anybody can go to coachwithjoey.com. And you can schedule a 10-minute call. If it goes over there, I don't track time and stuff, but and we could let's start talking about it. Maybe we're not aligned to coach together, but if I can help you get something to move you out of that unstuck place, or to get you moving in that direction, or if you're a business owner that you're really at that point, I've been there, where it's like, I really need to get growth quickly, or I got to start looking at other options. Before you give up, call me, reach out to me, coachwithjoey.com, and let's talk. Because it could really be what feels like it's the end of the grind, like the end of the whole thing and falling off a cliff. What it really could be is you just step into soaring.
Okay, you've sold me. So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, because you do that. So let's do this. The first 5 people that reach out to you, Joey, from my podcast, I'm going to give them a $25 Amazon gift card.
Oh, that's
so
beautiful,
listeners,
Steve.
I love doing this. So listeners, mention my name or the podcast. Joey will reach out to me, get your contact info, and I'll send you a virtual Amazon gift card. Because here's the deal. I've done coaching and I've learned stuff from it, but it wasn't all this that you've encompassed. That your goal with your client is success. It could be 34,000 to 50,000. It happened. This guy hit 150 and he's going for $1 million. There was success. That's all people ask for. I'm hurting at 10. I need to go 20 to not hurt anymore. And you're helping the hurt, right?
Yes, absolutely. Get beyond actually helping the hurt. We're not just mending, we're healing. Yes. And getting into that growth where life starts getting exciting. That is such a, wow, that's huge of you.
No, it's my pleasure. Again, it's not our money anyways. We know whose money it is, who stewards our money. With that being said, Institute, I'm excited to hear about this. Let's talk more about this. Has it launched, or I think you're launching it, right?
We have parts of it launched. We have the portal, which hosts all the programs and everything else, but we're in the process of honestly building up the funding, because I don't want to do it kind of half-butted or half-assed, So we're building up the funding to launch Life Ignited Institute. And the whole purpose of it is to certify coaches with the SMT method and the different programs that we offer to expand. This is awesome to even be able to say, to expand the footprints of the works that I do.
Oh, wow. So you got disciples out there using your methods with the SMT to grow and help them. Oh man, you're giving back.
Yeah. Oh, and not only are we going to do it, because I have multiple certifications as well, but not only are we going to certify them and say, okay, here's your tools, go and do it. We're going to help them grow that business. We have systems in place with marketing and things like that and stuff. So as people are coming in, we'll be able to help these coaches get the clientele, because that's one of the hardest things for really good coaches is getting that clientele buildup of people that they can serve. So we're going to help to do that as well.
Oh, that's going to be exciting. And fully launched, you have a date that we can share?
I'm going to say sometime next year.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I'll have to have them back. So now part 2, part 3, part 4 will be coming back, because we're going to keep talking about the Institute.
Absolutely. I'd love to. It just builds the excitement.
Oh,
and that's
does.
Really, anybody that's looking right now that's not in the place they want to be, and and they're looking for something they could do. One thing I'll tell you to do is get a vision. Get that vision of that point where you want to be at. What is it like to live life at that place? How does your freedom flow in your life? How does it feel to have the generating the revenue you want to and be able to pay everything and have some excess to share, give, play, and do all of that with? Like, what does that life look like? Really get into the place of that. Every client I work with, and one of the things we didn't talk about, Steve, is I have a 28-year corporate career where I was up to a vice president helping companies in bankruptcy back to profitability. And in doing so, every organization I helped, we would start developing a vision based on my learnings that led into SMT. Is we would get a vision instead of talking about what's going wrong. And you know that philosophy, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Know it.
Okay. It's always our problems that are that squeaky wheel, right?
Yes.
So what if we start looking at our blessings being the squeaky wheel? In other words, the things that are going good are the things that we put our focus into, because then that expands into ideas and creativity for more good to start happening. And when we do that, and as scared as I was to do this in my own life, when I started doing that, the problems started fading off and the successes started growing.
That's brilliant, because I use squeaky wheel all the time. My dad used to use that. He's old school.
Mine too.
Yes, we're close to the same age. But to add the blessings part to it is just brilliant. Yeah. I sound like I'm from the UK when I say brilliant. That's okay. I'm going to ask you a question. I know you're going to have a great answer for this, but I get asked all the time, what's servant leadership? You got doing business with a servant's heart, but what's servant leadership? What's it to you, Joey?
Servant leadership means that when I'm working with somebody, is I'm more concerned about how I can help them and what I can do for them to get them what they want to achieve. And I'm second place in that I'm leading based on that serving of them, not me.
I love that, because people don't get that. And when they hear that, and they hear more and more, because people think leadership as in the military, lead by more push-ups, that's not leading. That's just training. You're just trying to get them in shape. But it's the person that, and one of my guests, Oak, and I'm going to announce him, he's a retired lieutenant general. He always says this about leadership, especially servant leadership, is somebody comes up to me and says, hey, I'm a leader. And Oak will say, okay, who are you mentoring right now? And they say, nobody. He says, you're not a leader. Yeah, you're shaking your head. And that's what you
Yeah.
do.
Oh, yeah. I do leadership conferences and such. I'm doing one right now for down in South Carolina for a community, a local government community. And in doing that, and it's all about, we're taught, we can take classes, we can go to college and get degrees on leadership. But what we're learning is what other people are telling us to do. True leadership, when you look at the greatest leaders of our time, good or bad, I won't bring names, but good or bad, they led from inside out. They didn't take what somebody else did and try to duplicate it.
Yeah.
That's leadership. And we are all leaders. When I start a conference or start, a leadership conference, I'll start asking people, who are the leaders in here? And I'll have some people not raise their hand. And so I'll start picking on them a little bit and say, are you married? Do you have children? Do you work? Do you have job responsibilities? You're the leader of that. We're all leaders. We just don't recognize it.
That's so true. And I'm glad you dripped in the personal life because, yeah, you're a father of a household. You got to lead. It's a business and you got to be a leader in business. You got to do all the things leaders do. We lose sight of that. I think the world has kind of lost sight of it a little bit too, but we won't go there either.
Well, and that's some of the stuff, even with the squeaky wheel and things like that, it's conditioning. It's the way we're conditioned as a child. It's the way we're conditioned through school. It's the way we're conditioned as in our culture. It's conditioning that teaches us those things. But those are the same conditioning causing us to live realistic lives and not breaking out of that mold.
And that conditioning goes into our subconscious that you got to work out with your training.
Yes.
Can anybody?
I'll tell you.
Can anybody do that? Can you work with anybody?
No. Okay. No. And it was really hard for me to learn this. What I do isn't necessarily for those people who need it. It's those who want it. And here's what differentiates it is, because of the way I do it with the incremental profit share and things like that, I'm somewhat selective on the clients I'll work with. And what I look for is, does this person have an open mind or do they know everything about everything? Because nobody can make a difference in that person's life if they know it, if they know everything about it. So what I call a beginner's mindset, and what I tell people, instead of I know, is look at what can you learn that you can add to what you already know. So if somebody's in that place, then I can start working with them. If somebody, and I mean, really, that's the major one. And then I look at 2 reference points of every person I work with. Where are you right now? And where do you want to be? And I help them develop that where you want to be. But if somebody can't get into, if their life is good enough, if things are good enough, the pain's not bad enough, things like that right now, a lot of times they don't have the emotional energy required to get past those patterns and paradigms that are holding them in that place.
Yeah, Bob Proctor, because I had done some training with him, I'm glad you're part of it. He always says in the YouTubes I watch is you can do anything.
Yeah.
If you let your mind allow. I'm paraphrasing, and that's hope. That's huge hope for people.
Yeah, it is. And Steve, some of it, I didn't think I could do this stuff. The first time I was asked to step up on stage and speak, like I was asked to speak at I told you I'm a minister as well, and I was asked to speak at a worldwide conference in front of like 300 to 500 ministers and things like that, and I was speaking on prosperity. And man, before I stepped up on that stage, all I heard inside of myself is, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do, I'm not the right person. I can't do this. And it's already been, and so I walk up on stage and I start sharing what I know. And all of a sudden, God just stepped in and I stopped for a second. I go, I just have to recognize how amazing life can be. Here's this kid from Detroit quoting the Bible to hundreds of ministers. God is so awesome. And that just opened that floodgate for that to flow then and stuff. So there's things I've achieved in my life. When I thought of them, it was a great vision. I didn't think I'd be able to do it. But when we stay out of the way of trying to live in up here, strategically trying to calculate the steps and actions and everything else, and we just move forward with an action and then wait for the next action, move forward, and we start doing that, that's that developing systems of accelerating habits aligns those actions for us. So when we're taking action, we're getting a lot more results from each of the actions we're taking, which are how the whole thing come together to get us to that point without all the exhaustive efforts and massive actions.
Well, we're going to have to do part 2 because we're running out of time.
All right.
And I am so fired up. I'm going to make it 6 people that reach out to you. I'm going to give an Amazon gift card because
that's such a blessing of you to do that.
Amen. Because if I can help others take that step, like you said, you do your programs so that people with fear don't have that fear to get them get help. Same thing with the podcast. Reach out. You can tell Joey's a great dude. He cares. Just reach out. He reached out to me. He's on my podcast. Things happen.
Yeah. If nothing else, we get to have a conversation that can help you get some actions that will move you forward in the direction you want to go.
Well, thank you for being on.
To be a part of that. Yep.
Oh no, I want you to be part of it. Thank you. This is not the end because part 2, I've already been thinking about through the show we'll do. So we'll get back together, look for part 2. It's going to be even better. I don't know how we're going to do that, but we will. With that being said, if you can do me a favor, can you do one more thing with my audience? Give them a tip. You've given so many great tips right now, but what's a tip that you've learned that'll help them in their journey?
Allow yourself to believe that you're more capable than what your mind tells you, and follow that.